chump. Take him, break him, cut him up, liquidate, tear him up, butcher him, wipe him out, slaughter the pig. Do it. Erase the shithead, mess his face, send him to hell, kill him. Way to go. You're getting the hang of this. We'll make a slash star out of you yet. Great. You're getting a real taste for this. Beautiful. You're warming up our audience nicely. That was one killer shot. Attaboy. We've only got so many chumps for you to chew up. Make each one count. Nice, Cash. Nice. Okay. We need to bump up the murder rate here. Plow on. Great. But speed it up a little. Look, Cash, let's get some clarity to the proceedings, okay? I need executions in quick succession. Step it up a little. Give me some rage, for Christ's sakes.
In 2003, right on the heels of GTA 3 and Vice City, developed right alongside them, Rockstar Games unveiled their survival horror pet project, Manhunt. In this virtual essay, we'll be discussing how this, arguably Rockstar's most controversial release, the game that nearly caused a mutiny within the company for pushing every envelope possible, secretly doubles as a brilliant and important, if pitch black, sexually twisted, commentary on what we'll be calling America's masculine dream. I will be arguing that in effect, Manhunt has been criminally overlooked as a major work of social satire, targeting gender norms and what modern audiences might recognize by the phrase male toxicity.
Now only you can hear me, and that's the way you're gonna want it, because I'm your only way out of here.
Manhunt tells the torture and revenge story of one James Earl Cash, a man sentenced to death by the state for murder. What the public doesn't realize is that behind the powers that be of the game's setting, Carcer City, there's a puppet master, a kingpin, by the name of Lionel Starkweather. Starkweather basically kidnaps and enslaves death row inmates by first staging their public executions to force them to participate in the creation of hyper-grisly snuff films, meaning essentially murder porn, while he forces them to live in his giant torture factory, a prison city/movie studio built atop relics from Carcer City's past as its backdrop. Cash, that is, you the player, are Starkweather's final real-life black market slasher star, slicing, smashing, shooting, and most of all, stalking our way across Carcer City's abandoned structures turned movie sets like the Scrapyard, the Zoo, and the Insane Asylum. Cash exterminates, in vicious, lurid displays to the camera, members of prison gangs like the Skins, the War Dogs, and others, including groups of mercenaries, inmates, and police.
Give me some grade A, honest-to-God gore, and you'll be buzzed through the door.
Leading you along by the nose until inevitably trying to engineer your own grisly death on screen, again, is the literal director of these proceedings, who we gradually unmask as the disgraced former Hollywood director Lionel Starkweather. With the Carcer City Chief of Police and other powerful figures and outfits, like the Cerberus mercenary group, in his pocket, Starkweather has turned the decrepit, derelict Carcer City into one big blood-fueled machine. Working together with a local journalist, we as Cash narrowly escape Starkweather's disgusting flesh factory, kill all his most important goons, including his personal gimp, Pigsy, who I would call the full-blown living embodiment of male toxicity, as your fellow monster and, so to speak, son of Starkweather, before finally infiltrating Starkweather's mansion headquarters and taking his life. Cash disappears like Halloween's Michael Myers, while the story he helped break puts the Starkweather empire out of business for good. Clearly, Manhunt covers a lot of controversial ground, tackling everything from the prison industrial complex to cycles of family violence and sadistic police corruption. But what does any of this have to do with toxic masculinity? Well, as we'll see, quite a damn lot. From its earliest moments, Manhunt's real star is actually, of course, Lionel Starkweather, in one of the early 2000s greatest voice acting performances, played by the legendary Succession actor Brian Cox. Simply put, Manhunt is your rebirth story. You could call it also a psychic immigration tale, as we immigrate in a way to Starkweather's mental America, with him serving as our second father, our teacher, and of course our enslaver. The titular Manhunt operates on multiple levels, you see. Yes, it's a slasher game where you eventually play as an escaped convict on the lam from the law. It's also a game of twisted and fatal hide-and-seek, where you spend the whole game building to tracking down Starkweather and killing him. But there's a third-level meaning. Manhunt refers to Starkweather's search for the perfect slasher star, his hunt for a true man, whether that man is you or your enemies. What I mean is that Manhunt is about patriarchy, how the role, the idea of manliness gets passed down and proliferated from parents to the next generation. Let's hear some of how Starkweather talks to Cash, shall we?
Go for it, my boy. Go for it. I knew you'd be a natural. You're gonna turn the slash world on its head. That's my boy. Get your teeth into them. They're going to be screaming your name, boy. Mark my words. That's my boy. Like a duck to water.
Manhunt is full of men who have disappointed their fathers and long to set things right in outrageous displays of masculine power, with Lionel Starkweather as their surrogate father figure. His prison city playground is one big abusive family, or a new nation, with Starkweather as its founding father of this other America within America. Secretly, the only true objective of the entire game is just proving yourself to Starkweather. You think that it's to destroy him, but even when you kill him, Starkweather's last words are, "But Cash, I made you." There's no wiping the stain of Starkweather on our psyche clean. We, as James Earl Cash, are the mega monster that the monstrous Starkweather burst with Carcer City as the crucible-like womb serving the role of surrogate mother. Every life Cash takes is like a satanic sacrifice that makes him as a mega monster stronger, but it also doubles as proof to Starkweather that Cash is, in so many words, a true man and a good son. Accordingly, Starkweather praises or scolds you as a good father would. Toxic masculinity is everywhere in Manhunt, and it's completely on purpose, to critique and satirize the brutal stupidity that it displays. Heavily influenced by David Fincher's Fight Club, Manhunt is a witheringly unflinching send-up of modern masculine norms. In the hyper-capitalist, hyper-cutthroat, pseudo-evangelical moral universe of Carcer City, the worst thing in the world to be is not a murderer or a rapist, it's to be a pussy, a big Alice, a little girl. Whether in the form of white supremacists like the Skins, or the Latin street gangs, the brotherhood of former veterans called the War Dogs, or other twisted male-only micro-communities in Manhunt, this game's ultimate symbol is the prison cell block showers, a symbol in America of homophobic yet homoerotic humiliation, kinship bonds, and domination. In general, as even its level names like Born Again, Divided They Fall, or Border Patrol illustrates, Manhunt is a horrifying yet daringly true-to-life takedown of American society, like all of Rockstar's best games. But more than any other series that they have made, Manhunt, with its twisted S&M slasher aesthetic that prefigures mid-2000s horror movies like 2004's Saw or 2005's Hostel, that uses for its vibe a kind of stark, unhinged violence and torture aesthetic reminiscent of, say, Guantanamo Bay or hardcore pornography, is about the ways being or seeking to be a quote-unquote real man can prove catastrophic, from the levels of the personal and familial to the societal and correctional. Also beautifully castigated is American morality and its inherently sadomasochistic logic of sin, punishment, and redemption through serving the new god, that is, the state, American society, and its hyper-ruthless form of capitalism. Manhood in Manhunt is the ultimate stalker. More than fear of violence or humiliation, we are being stalked by the pressure to be the top dog, beat out all the pussies trying to make us their bitch by making them ours, the inexorable logic of doing unto others what has been done to you, the inhumanity of pushing human beings into finding the inner will to make themselves into monsters. All these deeper, disturbing layers form the core of what Manhunt has to say as a psychological horror-based social satire of American masculinity. I'd argue it lays bare the brutality and machinic logic of how boys become men in our world, where men can sometimes seem like a euphemistic word for monster. To cause hurt and avoid being hurt yourself, to take and never give, to accept the rules of the game no matter how twisted, perverted, or insane, to rise above as a paragon of masculine potency, a man defined by hardness, by resilience, but also by conformity, by making our forefather proud. By making the grade, and at bottom simply being man enough. These are the hideously toxic ways masculinity manifests in Manhunt. It is all awfully dark, terribly violent, and as a satire, completely necessary, even today, more than 20 years later. Now is a time when men have maybe never had worse role models for how to conduct themselves as men, if we're talking about people in positions of power. Rapidly, women are returning to their pre-modern status as second-class citizens in America. Men, meanwhile, have pulled their political power across class and race lines to elect the Starkweather-esque Donald Trump to a second term.
Careful, there's a bigot guarding the gate. If he sees you, he'll call his cheery buddies.
The sick and twisted logic of child abuse, speaking of, is on full display in Manhunt, as much as it is now in America more than ever. We are, 2 decades on from Manhunt, still mass-producing monsters of masculinity in our society, more than ever, perhaps. This is a society which has never been more competitive or amoral or hostile to women or so-called womanly men. That's why Manhunt's relevance as a pitch-black social satire masquerading as an overly edgy slasher game has maybe never been greater. What also really holds up is Manhunt's survival horror stalker gameplay. The enemy AI is pretty good for a game from 2003, as you can quickly find yourself overrun and brutally beat to death by mobs of enemies. The stuff that they say while hunting you in these big macho mobs is genuinely terrifying, while also beautifully driving home the game's admittedly already less than subtle themes. Manhunt's controversially batshit levels of gore, violence, torture, and even full frontal male nudity all distracted people from seeing this game for what it is, which is a unique and addictive, if painfully difficult, hybrid of psychological survival horror and stealth action, following in the footsteps of major influences like Metal Gear Solid. Manhunt is as well made technically as it functions conceptually. I'd say that Manhunt is full-blown underrated as a gore and semen-coated masterwork of twisted satirical art. Until next time, boss.